David Lombardi, he's been waiting on hold.
You know what it
The
is?
Athletic.
My guy's lost so much weight, he's lightheaded.
No, he's losing his mind is what he's doing. Look. Look into the camera. Look. Hurry up and get David on. Wait. Look. Where are they going to talk to David Lombardi out? I don't know. 49er football, final 53-man roster.
Producers going nuts.
Yeah, right. David Lombardi. Sorry you had to listen to that. What's up? What's going on, David? Good morning, man.
I have a question. Are you guys still feuding with those guys from Philadelphia?
What do you think? I opened up my phone.
I saw like 2 months ago they were trying to stir, they're trying to grab an old clip of you guys and act like it was yesterday.
Well, yesterday they came out with yesterday, David, Barstool article clipped the same clip with Shasky. So
and of course,
they just don't have enough material in Philadelphia. I mean, Niner fans are fighting in videos and stuff like that, so, they're going to harp all over that. But the rivalry's real between us and Philadelphia. And how would you feel, David? You're a big guy. The radio host told us last year going to the NFC Championship game,
gonna die.
I don't want you to die, so don't wear your gear. And I'm just thinking to myself, die? No.
We're going to a sports game.
So, anyway, that's where that all started, and here we are today, David. Must be amusing for you, though, from the outside looking in.
I intentionally took the subway in Philly just to get a vibe for the game last year, and I got a kick out of it. I'd never seen more wasted beer in my life because they had cops waiting at the station right when you got off at the stadium, and people just had their 24 packs and everything, and they had barely gotten into them, and they were making them dump everything as they got there. I'm like, what a waste of money. It was crazy, but it was a cool vibe as far as, this is a huge game. I do know that you guys had some stories, and a lot of 49ers fans had stories, though. The people that were wearing gear were not, I think it bordered on just really obnoxious, right? It wasn't, it wasn't fun anymore. So, but I guess they pride themselves on that.
Yeah. That's what they do. They call it passion, David. They call it passion. So homophobic slurs, middle fingers, touching people. I guess it's just passion.
Let's talk about the Niners. I want to have fun. I don't want to talk about Philly. Can we talk about Christian McCaffrey? Me and B go to a couple practices. You're there every day, but I'm walking by him, and I go to B. I go, it's just different when you have a feature back, like a franchise feature back. And he might be the best back in the game. I think there's a great argument for that. We haven't even seen him in preseason. He's going to have a monster year, right?
Well, he's more than a running back, which is why he's paid at the top of the market for that position, which is why, I think if that position wants to elevate itself in the financial aspects of the game, guys are going to have to be more like Christian McCaffrey. Guys are going to have to be able to line up in the slot, even line up outside. He just does everything. He throw the football, too. Maybe not in an NFC Championship game, but he threw the ball to Brandon Ayuk against the Rams last year. So he's this new age weapon, and Kyle Shanahan's offense is something that's taken a hold across the entire league, and it's about positionless skill position weapons.
Yeah.
Defenses have a really tough time matching up with an offense if they see the personnel package, but they're not sure where the running back is going to be. Is he going to be in the slot? Do you need a defensive back in the slot, or can you use a linebacker? So depending on what the defense tosses out there, if they are in a base package, well, then you'll put Christian McCaffrey in the slot so he can abuse the linebacker on a pass pattern. But if it's a DB, well, Christian McCaffrey can be in the backfield, and the 49ers have some big linemen now that can run some gap scheme stuff that could give smaller defenders trouble. So it really just gives you flexibility at the line of scrimmage when you have a player that can do all that he can, and it makes it tough, if not impossible, to defend. And then you just need your quarterback, and this is not an easy job. I'm not diminishing Brock Purdy, but you need your quarterback to be a point guard.
Right.
Because Christian McCaffrey generates so many matchup advantages, and if the quarterback can play point guard efficiently, Brock Purdy's actually said that's his job last year. It's a quote from him. He said he's here to play point guard.
Yeah.
And when that happens, the offense can put up 30-plus a game.
No, you're spot on there. Just the Rams game, you remember the play, David, when McCaffrey flares out to the left and Malcolm Braun from the Rams just goes, oh, man, there's number 23. Let me get out to the flat, and Kittle goes right up the seam wide open by himself. He does open it up for everybody, and especially Brandon Ayuk here. And that timing route, David, if you could break that down, I love that third down timing route. Ayuk runs a quick little stick route, comeback route, and the timing there with Brock Purdy, and you see the zip on the ball. I'm looking at this offense, and we talk so much about the backup quarterback, and I'm thinking about this offense saying, Boy, I haven't been this excited since like '98 about all the offensive weapons at the disposal for Kyle Shanahan. I mean, you got everything here. I'm expecting this offense to average nearly 30 points a game because of all these weapons.
Right, and the key is for the ball to get out on time. And I think that's something that when you're just watching on TV, it's really hard to appreciate. But at the game, when we saw the 2 drives from Brock Purdy the other day, you noticed that he was on time with a lot of these throws. If that goes half a second later to Brandon Ayuk, the catch might not be there, but the yak opportunity certainly isn't there.
Right.
So that's why I always say yak. Yes, the receiver gets a lot of credit, but the QB gets a lot of credit too for getting the ball out on time. The play caller gets a lot of credit for scheming the yak. I mean, football. It's really hard to appreciate the collective nature of football these days because everybody just wants to give all the credit to one entity. Right? It's like, no, the quarterback did all of this, the receiver did nothing, or this was all yak, this quarterback is trash. And just not how football works. I mean, it's this beautiful cohesion between several different pieces. The play caller, the receiver, and the QB all have to be on the same page. And I think on the play that you're talking about, they went out to the boundary there, and Ayuk made the catch, turned upfield, almost scored. I'm sure he's still regretting that one right now, which is he would have gotten a couple extra yards across the goal line. But everything was in harmony on that type of play. And when that 49ers offense is clicking, that's the case. It's all the pieces working in unison like that.
They've got stars across the board. I mean, there are so many positions. McCaffrey, Ayuk, Debo, Kittle, like Trent Williams, you could even say is an offensive lineman star if there even is such a thing. Fred Warner, Bosa. We were talking yesterday at our little 49er Red and Gold Summit, and we were saying, like, who could be a star that pops this year? Someone new, fresh to the scene. I took Steve Wilks as the defensive coordinator because I think it's very important. Hitting on 3 straight DCs would be almost unprecedented. Who would be the player or coach or side of the ball that you're looking to pop who we're not talking about right now, but by the end of the year we will be?
Well, I think Wilks is a good one to talk about because I wouldn't be surprised if this 49ers defense, even if they had Nick Bosa back, struggled a little bit out of the gate, just giving up some big plays because blitzing is a boom or bust kind of thing. And I think it might take a few games for the 49ers to find their stride with an increased blitz rate if that's what we do see out of Steve Wilks. I do think that there are going to be blitzes that hit, there are going to be blitzes that don't hit, and what you do over the course of the season is you evolve and get used to your personnel as a defensive coordinator is you find your spots and you find what your exact blitzes are and you start playing that chess match against opposing defensive coordinators. So, for Steve Wilks, I would really look at this 49ers defense in the big picture of the season and make sure that they're peaking at the right time. Make sure that they're peaking going into December, going into January, because they're going to be running some new exotic stuff coverage-wise in the back end. They're going to be mixing and matching nickel this year as well. They're planning to slide Lenore in there against the Cooper Kupps of the world. He did a great job against Cooper Kupp in Week 4 last year playing nickel. And Isaiah Oliver is probably going to be out there against some of the bigger bodies, some of the tight ends. So this defense is a bit of an experiment for the 49ers. They want to take it to the next level. I know they're already the number 1 unit last year, but they feel that there's a little left in the tank. And I'm really focused on how Steve Wilks navigates that this season because I don't think that it will be all smooth sailing. I think that anything great you're going to have to experiment with a little bit, and these seasons are long, and the 49ers, I think, can afford to experiment a little bit to try to take it to that next Super Bowl level.
David Lombardi, The Athletic, does a hell of a job covering the 49ers here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game. Sticking with the defense here, how serious is this Hufanga injury? And if it is serious, would Jair Brown be ready to roll at the safety spot? I know they love him out of Penn State. We all love him. He could play in the box, play deep. But how ready would he be if Hufanga's compromised at all this season with that knee injury?
Yeah, that's interesting because Kyle Shanahan didn't seem concerned at all. He said it was just a Baker cyst, but then one of those online doctors, David Chow, who does a good job, he's able to watch tape and just diagnose stuff. He didn't see any tape of Hufanga, but he heard about the injury, and he tweeted, and he said, well, Baker cyst can be correlated with meniscus damage, and if it's meniscus damage, then that can mean surgery, and all of a sudden, you're tossing around all these scary words. But, I don't want to alarm people prematurely because, again, when we heard straight from the source, from the 49ers, Shanahan was saying this was a day or two kind of thing. So We'll just wait. We'll see what the deal is with Talanoa Hufanga. But if it does come to the 49ers needing to test their safety depth, Jair Brown's a rookie, and a rookie at any position is scary for an NFL team because there's a lot of terminology, a lot of complexity to the game, assignments you have to learn. If you're one step out of position in the NFL, it could look terrible. In college, you could probably just make up for it with athleticism. It's a different game. They love Jair Brown. They like the skill set that he brings to the table, the maturity, the instincts. But you definitely want your veterans out there. That's the preferred option. So let's just wait and see. We should probably have an update on that from Kyle Shanahan today.
Was this the longest offseason of all time? I mean, seriously, the way it ended.
Every single one of these is just tiresome. I mean, it's the 49ers. It's crazy.
Even training camp, right? I mean, think about every training camp you've covered with the Niners. It's always something at the quarterback spot, but there's always a surprise. Always something.
Well,
this year was the holdout with Bosa, which we're not really surprised about. But the talk of the backup quarterback, I'm actually thankful that we've kind of moved on from it on the show.
Yeah. So, but go back to every single offseason. 2020 was really long just because it was 2020. Mm-hmm. There wasn't really an offseason, but it took a long time for everybody, right? 2021. That was when they traded up and they drafted Lance. So that got crazy. That seemed interminable because there was so much shouting and yelling. 2022, Deebo Samuel, that also created a whole lot of drama that got really, really old by the end. And here you have contract stuff with Nick Bosa. It's obviously much quieter because they're keeping that under wraps. But you have the whole quarterback thing. Now you had the whole drafting a kicker thing, and now both kickers are hurt in this crazy twist. Like they thought they were going to be sellers on the kicker market. They were sure they're going to be sellers, and then in the final preseason game, the guy that they were trying to sell, Zane Gonzalez, strains his calf in warm-ups. I mean, you can't make this stuff up when it comes to the 49ers and injuries. So all of a sudden, they were looking for kickers yesterday. They still haven't found one, or maybe they found one. Maybe they're going to add one to the practice squad, or we don't know where Jake Moody is at too. But they go from being sellers to buyers in the kicker market because of the calf strain and pregame warm-ups. Backup kicker. It's crazy stuff.
It's unbelievable. All right, David. This is me and Bonte's final show before the end of summer because Labor Day to me signifies the end of summer, right? And so I was playing him some music earlier this morning, Pandora's Box, a little game that we play, and I played Van Morrison, Brown Eyed Girl. It's a song, when I hear it, I don't know why, I think of kind of the closeout, the end of summer. There are lots and lots of songs you can choose from. For David, and you're a very well-traveled man. You know, you're kind of a Renaissance man. That's why I really like you. You've got good taste. Give me a song or an artist that you think of when you think of kind of the end of summer.
Tom Petty, Free Falling, something like that. Just classic rock. And I know you're on classic rock right now, too. The end of summer feels like classic rock.
I like
You got to go with one of those. I agree with you.
Yeah, I like that.
Free Falling.
Yeah!
Is that what's going on?
Free
What's going on with the 49ers?
Is that what's going on with the Niners?
You know what's so funny? Like yesterday, I'm walking up. I was just walking around the city. I wanted to get outside. I've been working all day. It was a beautiful day. I'm walking up to Corona Heights.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the narrowest little alleys in San Francisco is, I kid you not, and this was right after that Nick Bosa trade rumor came up on Reddit. But one of the narrowest alleys in San Francisco is called DeForest Way. Like, even spelled the way that DeForest Buckner spells his name with a capital F and everything. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to give 49ers fans nightmares. But so I have to tweet it out. This is great.
Oh,
and it was just like, you know, when the universe like sends you a sign,
right?
Humor.
Yeah.
That was one of those things. But
what'd you think of that Nick Bosa rumor? I mean, come on. I've heard, we had Dumas. He has a report that something's going to get done by the end of the week. I've kind of heard the same thing. We were talking about it on Monday. Like, hey, Shasky, relax. He's going to be here.
No,
you know,
I'm not going to relax.
But he won't relax. But what's your take into this Bosa thing? Have you ever been concerned? I know we asked you this last time you were on, but now that we're closer and closer to September the 10th, where are you at now with the Bosa situation?
Well, I think I told you guys when he first didn't report to training camp. You know, that was like the first deadline was in that kind of first week of camp, maybe when they put on pads for Deebo Samuel. But when he didn't meet that one, then you're like, oh, okay, he's digging in. If he's digging in, why would he come 2 weeks in? Why would he come 3 weeks in? It seems like the deadline that has a better chance of getting something done is week one, right? So I don't understand. Like, I get it. Now it's the only thing to focus on. Trey Lance is a Cowboy, so that's the next thing, right? Everybody's going to pivot to that, and that's where all these reports are going to come from. But to me, it's always been, not always, but since he didn't report the first week, I kind of shifted toward week one, just because that's how these deadlines work. You know, it's like this game of chicken, and both cars are driving toward each other. Nobody really wants to crash because that hurts both sides. So it's a question of who swerves first, but nobody's going to swerve too early because the cars aren't that close to hitting yet. Next week, those cars are going to be about to hit. So who's going to swerve first?
I like that.
I do too.
You like that, Shasky? Man, still that. David Lombardi, the Athletic, all over the 49ers. We'll hear from the coaches. Oh, but you know what? I got one more for you. Shanahan. I want to your honest opinion because, you know, I've been critical of Shanahan. But I thought Friday night, after explaining that Trey Lance Tracy, I'm in the belief that Shanahan didn't know all those explanations to anybody, the fans and media, whatever. And I know he kind of scorned you guys Wednesday night, but I thought Shanahan was as vulnerable as he's ever been on that podium and actually gained a lot more respect for him with the way he detailed what happened with Trey Lance. What was your take being in that presser Friday night after the Chargers game?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he honestly went through the whole thing. It's just a crappy situation, right? I mean, it's not at every step of the way, the 49ers tried, I think, to act in their best interests. I think the biggest miscalculation that they made was trying to really thread the needle with. So, see here, he went back, and I thought that it was really insightful this week. He went back and discussed what the original impetus for the trade was. And it was for salary cap sustainability. He said, after 2020, we decided we weren't going to be able to keep together this entire roster with a quarterback making close to $30 million or more than $30 million a year. It was that simple. So he said, we were going to go into this draft and we're going to get a quarterback on a rookie deal that we can mold into our own. But they also said that they had flexibility to get a raw quarterback because they could still afford to keep Jimmy Garoppolo for 2021. So they were trying to thread this needle of getting one of the rawest prospects of all time ready while Jimmy Garoppolo was still on the roster in 2021. And in retrospect, especially, that you could tell the margin for error in threading that needle was tiny. It was tiny. And the margin for error got blown up when Trey Lance broke his finger in week 3. Then he got hurt again. So, the injuries, I don't think you could blame on the 49ers, but the fact that they took this chance on this very low probability threading of the needle, that's probably something that you could criticize the 49ers for, right? So I think Shanahan was extremely open about that. It's a combination of circumstances, and it's a combination of the 49ers putting themselves in an overly ambitious position in this whole thing. And yeah, we'll never know what would have happened with Trey Lance and the 49ers had he not gotten hurt, but he did. That's what, football is a lot of things, but fair and predictable are not two of them.
No.
And I think that illustrates this situation. It wasn't fair to Trey Lance, but guess what? It's not ring around the rosy. It's professional football, and it definitely wasn't predictable, right? So I think that this was a great case study of that.
Good stuff, David. Good stuff. Follow him at The Athletic. David Lombardi does a great job covering the 49ers. Well said there with Shanahan. Oh, man. I can't wait. September 10th. It's almost here.
Enjoy Labor Day.
Enjoy Labor Day.
David.
Have a good holiday weekend, David.
Yeah.
All right, guys. You too. Have
See
a good
you, buddy.
one.
All right, buddy. David Lombardi here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Cave.